The Spiel des Jahres nominations for 2020 have officially been announced. We've got games in 3 different categories, and we're going to run through them for you, then give you our thoughts and opinions.
We're going to start off with the Spiel nominees. First game is My City from Rainer Knizia. This is actually a legacy game when you'll be building up cities with different tiles of different shapes and colors. But if you don't like the legacy style, you can actually play it regularly just after 4 chapters instead of finishing the entire legacy campaign. Next up is Nova Luna from Uwe Rosenberg. This is a tile placement game when you'll be choosing tiles based on not only where your opponents are, but also a moon piece on a track, and you'll be placing them in your own personal area, trying to get different color combinations in order to empty out your pile of tokens. Finally, you have Pictures, which I would guess classify as a deduction party game, where you have people trying to guess what picture you have, but to give clues, each person has a different set of objects you have to use to try to get them to guess your picture. Finally, we have the recommendation list. These are games that came close to becoming nominees, but didn't quite make the cut. We've got Color Brain, The Fox in the Forest, Draftosaurus, Kitchen Rush, Little Town, and Spicy.
The Kennerspiel des Jahres is the award for more advanced titles, and of course we have 3 games in that category as well. Cartographers, which is a flip and write game where you are trying to map out an area of the kingdom using different terrain types and different shapes and fitting them into the places to get you the most points based on which goals are available. The Crew, Quest for Planet 9, is a cooperative trick-taking game, takes place in outer space, and you are going to progress through a series of missions that will give you harder and harder tasks to complete as a group. And then finally, there's The King's Dilemma, which is a legacy game in which all players represent different houses, and they are trying to negotiate with each other and get people to vote on brand new decrees for the kingdom that further their own personal goals. Recommendations in this category are Paladins of the West Kingdom, Res Arcana, and Underwater Cities. There's also the Kinderspiel des Jahres, the awards category for kids games. In that we see Photo Fish, a game about taking pictures of fish, Speedy Roll, which involves hedgehogs and Velcro, and We Are the Robots, which is a racing game that involves robots. We are not kids, we don't have experience with these games, so we're going to be focusing more on the other 2 categories.
As of this recording, we've played most of the games that are nominees. For the Kennerspiel, we've actually played all 3 of the games. Unfortunately, for the regular Spiel, we've only played Nova Luna. My City right now is for pre-order in the States, and Pictures is available, but we haven't played it. So right now, we have read on about those 2 games, so we have a general idea how they play. Jonathan, what are your thoughts on these?
As you said, Nova Luna, the only one we have direct experience with, and I had a good time playing it. It's definitely along the lines of Azul and those types of games that I think the Spiel jury generally gravitates towards. For me, I found it very, very similar to Patchwork in many ways, but also I thought it was different enough that I had fun with it in a different way. I don't think that they one replaces the other by any means, but that might be one thing that I would think maybe leaves me a little cold on that one compared to some others. Pictures, we haven't played. It just looks like kind of a goofy party game. Very, very light. I'm not sure how I would feel about it. I think it could be fun. My City, I did see a little bit of gameplay for, and that looks interesting. Again, it's sort of like Patchwork, even Cartographers. They all have this thing of, taking shapes and placing them on your board in different ways. And My City seemed interesting, and in the way that the game progresses. And at first, you just are trying to fill in spots, but then later it matters what the colors of the buildings are. And then there's a light legacy element, like we said. There's some stickers. It looked enjoyable. So overall, I mean, for the Spiel, from what I can see and what I've experienced, they seem like decent categories or decent nominations. Although I don't know if any of them really blew me away. What do you think about I guess we'll talk about the Spiels first, and then we can get into the Kennerspiels if you want after that.
Well, I guess mine is actually mixed with the 2 discussions, so...
Sure, mix them then. Bring them in.
This is my take. I won't comment much on Pictures. Like I said, I've only read, and it just seems like you said the party game. I honestly feel that both The Crew and Cartographers are better Spiel picks, and I think My City should be a Kennerspiel, to be honest. I think anything that's a legacy game, and they actually talk about this. They have a little response on their page commentary instantly puts in the Kennerspiel for me. And even if my city is maybe an easier legacy game compared to others, to me that makes it much more common. Like if I'm going to play games with my family or more casual players, I think they'd be able to take cartographers in the crew a lot easier than they could a legacy game.
Yeah, well, I guess
I don't think the crew is that hard to wrap your mind around.
If anyone is completely unfamiliar with these awards, they do generally go for games that are more accessible and easily playable by all types of players, in addition to also being just good games. And yeah, I feel like a lot of times we look at these and see things that maybe don't quite jive with our opinions of what's easy and hard. Specifically, even just looking at the Kennerspiel, the first thing that jumped out at me was cartographers and the crew compared to the King's Dilemma.
Oh no, the King's Dilemma I think is like perfectly slotted.
But
that is a Kennerspiel.
Yeah, I feel like even more than a Kennerspiel. Like that's a heavy game. It's a big rule book.
No, that is very true. And by the way, in their commentary they mentioned that while not all the judges played the legacy games, there is some translation issues, so I'm not 100% sure if I read it right, but it seemed like they got the same group to do all the legacy games.
Interesting. Maybe it is telling that they feel that legacy games now have permeated the culture enough that they think they are mainstream, that it
No,
is something.
they did say that. They said that legacy games are bigger. They said that dice didn't play as big of a role this year. And they also mentioned how they're noticing more and more often that gamers are willing to take these 2 to 3 hour games that have huge rule books. They mentioned, I think they're the recommendations with Paladins, Res Arcana, and Underwater Cities. To me, it just seems to be a really weird that I don't think I've ever felt that feeling of like things are mixed up. I don't know whether they're like, these are the ones we want to put for the Spiel. And then people are like, but I really like these games. Fine, we'll put them in the Kennerspiel. Like I almost feel like they pushed other things out because of that.
Maybe. And of course, it's a German board game market. The way they view games sometimes is a little different than the way we look at them. So there may be some cultural differences for some of this stuff. But yeah, I think in general, maybe it hasn't been quite as pronounced always as it seems to be this year. But I feel like there's always a little bit of discrepancy between our opinions on like what belongs where, or if they belong there for the Spiel in our own.
That is true, though. I do feel you're definitely much harsher on them.
Sometimes.
But I feel like this time I'm being really picky about it.
Well, what do you think about if let's forego where they're placed? All three of those Kennerspiels, I think, are really strong games. I mean, King's Dilemma was my number one of last year, and I think for you it was 3 or 4 maybe.
I mean, I've had fun with all 3 of these games. I don't think you would be disappointed personally with any of these. I think you're going to be happy with them. If I have to choose a favorite, though, for Kennerspiel, I feel it's a little unfair. I'm going to go with King's Dilemma because I need to play my city. I'm really excited to try it out. But if those 2 were fighting with the other 3, I honestly, without playing my city, Nova Luna and Cartographers it would be one of those 2. Pictures, I have to play that too, but I can, unlike my city, I'm sort of getting a vibe like, I'd probably say it's fun.
I think from just looking at pictures, I feel like I've played it. It doesn't seem like there's a lot to that.
Right.
game.
And unlike my city, which I'm like, this could definitely catch my interest. I'm really curious. Nova Luna and Cartographers already have. I'm already excited to play more games of them. Still. Yeah. I played more of Cartographers than Nova Luna, I will say that. But they're at least I really enjoyed the mechanics in them. Like I said, and nothing against the crew either. To me, Nova Luna Cartographers was a lot more fun.
My only thing with Nova Luna personally is I think there's this genre of game that it is patchwork, even though I like patchwork, Azul, Splendor a little bit, all these like abstract, nice components, like you're taking colors and putting them on your personal board. I enjoy those games, but they all feel a little bit dry to me, and I feel like the Spiel des Jahres, they always have at least one of them in their nominees.
No, I see what you're saying. Splendor, I feel like is more of an engine thing, but definitely the other ones you mentioned. I really do like there is a bit more of not just what am I building. Honestly, I feel like you should be focusing on how other people can react after you pick.
Yeah, no, like
Because
it's
the
a
way the
good
game
one.
works. Right. So that's why I'm saying I really did enjoy it and I want to play it more. I think it was enough to keep me interested, I guess is what I'm saying.
So overall, I mean, based on what we know, I do think that they have some strong games here to look at. Probably, I mean, last year they had some that we really loved, and at least one we really didn't love that we don't need to go into right now. But I think overall this looks like a good selection of games for the year. And it'll be exciting to find out who wins and whether the ones we like come out on top or not, or which category they're in. It's nice to see these plus all those runner-ups, the recommendations, also get noticed, so that people, if they haven't got into them, can talk about those and try those out for themselves too.
I'm curious on your thoughts because technically, the Kennerspiel did not exist with the Spiel. They weren't created at the same time. They later added it because of all the more heavier games. Judging from their article, do you think with legacy games and how they said there are a lot more games where people like to spend 3 hours or so playing, that we could see a new award being added anytime soon?
I don't know. Either a new award or maybe just a shifting of gradually more the Spiel becoming more complicated and the Kennerspiel becoming even more complicated types of games.
I was going to say the Spiel seems to be shifting the other way.
Oh, you think it's getting simpler?
I do. I think there are a lot of games that are, at least seem to be nominated or even suggested that, for lack of a better term, could use is an advanced version of Uno.
I will say this much at least.
At least component-wise.
Nova Luna, I think, is more complex than any of last year's nominees, which were just one Werewords and Llama. I think that game
I
itself,
agree there. I agree, but I still think Nova Luna is in the right category.
No, I'm with you on that.
To me, that is a Spiel.
Those are the Spiel Jahres nominees, and that's our spiel on all of them. We gave you our thoughts on which ones we think deserve to win, and hopefully in the coming months we'll get to play those other ones that we haven't played just to see what we think, although I have a feeling our overall opinions probably won't change too much from what we gave you here. But once again, I mean, the Kennerspiels I think are really good choices. The Spiel for me is like, yeah, it's fun to look at every year, but it's never, they're going for a different thing than usually I'm going for in my tastes. That's just my personal preference. Talk to us in those comments. Let us know, what are your picks for this year? Have you played a lot of these, or are you planning to now that you've heard about them? Let us know. And until we find out who the winners are, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
And this is Roll for Crit.
Never miss out by liking and subscribing. And you can also check out more on our Patreon.
We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, so follow us there.